In almost all instances, whenever it is raining, wild animal becomes static. May it be herbivore or may it be carnivore. And this gives you an ample time to manipulate your camera settings to take a desired image. Raindrops will stand out if they are shot against a dark background. Subject in light and background in shade is an ideal condition to shoot a raindrop. Another thing to remember is raindrops will become more prominent and will appear better if it is shot backlit. So whenever and wherever it is possible for you, position yourself so that you get a dark background and the subject is backlit. Coming to the camera settings, I usually prefer to shoot in an aperture priority mode for almost all my wildlife photographs. But for this specific situation, I use a manual mode. Why I do that, I'll tell you later in this video. So first of all, set your camera to the manual exposure mode. In exposure parameter, because raindrops are random, keep your aperture to f11 or f16 so that you increase the zone of sharpness or depth of field. But if there is a heavy rain, then you may keep your aperture to f5.6 or up to 8. Depending on the intensity of the rain, shutter speed needs to be decided. As a rule of thumb, if it is a heavy rain, it will require a higher shutter speed, and if it is a light shower, it requires a slower shutter speed. What exact shutter speed is required? We will discuss this in detail later in this video. Coming to the ISO. Keep this ISO to auto so that the exposure is taken care depending on the shutter speed which you are using. Although in almost all the cases, whenever it is raining, there will be a cloudy situation. But I recommend that you keep your white balance to direct sunlight or a Kelvin temperature of 5000 to 5200. This gives a nice bluish cast to your image. Then, although you are using a manual exposure mode, but I recommend that you give a negative exposure compensation of maybe 0.3 or 0.7. This will take care of the highlighted raindrops. So that means you keep your white balance, exposure compensation, aperture almost constant in all cases. ISO is auto, so that also you need not change. So the only thing you need to change and worry about is the shutter speed. Then there is also a focusing method. But before I discuss this focusing method and the effect of different shutter speed on the resultant image, please like this video, share it and subscribe to the channel if you find some value in this video. As far as focusing is concerned, autofocus should work in almost all cases. But sometimes Because it is a dull light, autofocus may not work and lens will continuously hunt. In that case, use a manual focusing method. Now have a look at some of the images shot at different shutter speed. Pause the video to check the EXIF information of all the images. So we start with a shutter speed of 1/100th of a second. One by 200th of a second, 1/400th of a second, 1/800th of a second, and 1/1250th of a second. You can notice that if you want a large stick of rain, then you have to use a slower shutter speed. But if you want to freeze the raindrop, then you have to use a higher shutter speed. As far as my experience goes, a shutter speed of 1/200 to 1/400 is ideal to shoot all type of rains. But that is not all. When the rain stops, animal will invariably shake off the excess water from its fur, and this gives you a very good opportunity to take such images. Be aware and be ready for that moment. If you are in front of a big cat like lion or a tiger, when the rain stops, it will yawn first. So you take the photograph of that yawn. And then once it yawns, after maybe few seconds, it will shake the excess water from its mane. Be ready for that and shoot that frame in a fast shutter speed, maybe 1/800th of a second or higher than that. But sometimes you can take photograph with a slow shutter speed and get a result like this. Last but very important thing, cover the hot shoe of your camera with this hot shoe cover, a simple plastic which comes along with your camera. You do not want the electric contacts of your hot shoe to get wet, otherwise it will create an issue. Thank you and keep exploring.